Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 108 of the MTB Podcast, presented and hosted by Worldwide Cyclery on location in Sedona, Arizona, in a garage, kind of, an Airbnb.
I am Jeff.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Liam.
And I'm Adam.
This podcast was a little bit off the cuff. We happened to be in Sedona for the Mountain Bike Festival. It's snowing, but we wanted to record a podcast because we happened to be hanging out with Adam Miller, the founder of Revel Bikes. He was on episode 92 of the MTB Podcast. It was one of the fan favorites. We talked a lot about Revel's founding, Adam's history, creating a bike brand, manufacturing in Asia, suspension platforms, a ton of stuff. What else did we talk about on that episode?
Gosh, we talked about how
you broke your ankle right before the episode.
Yeah.
Your foot, I think, was on the table most of the time.
Definitely.
Recording
Swollen.
the episode.
Had to be elevated.
It did end up getting actually black and blue. I thought
huge.
Jared was faking it a little bit, but he wasn't.
It was real.
It was not ideal.
Not ideal. But we did talk about some bike stuff, which would hopefully be useful and valuable and insightful and interesting to you mountain bikers out there. Hopefully this episode airs. This whole thing is a little bit jerry-rigged. We've got two separate laptops recording two separate mics, a GoPro filming this. This whole setup is, we've never done it before. I have no idea if it's going to work. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
So maybe this conversation will just go down in history and stay in this Sedona garage. Hopefully people watching this on YouTube like the bunk beds in the back. Yeah, some nice bunk beds.
They are awfully nice.
So let's dive into some interesting things that happened at Revel lately. Adam told us it was called a smush. So the last time you were on the podcast, you talked about Y Cycles, which was you called it a sister brand to Revel, I think. Is that what you considered it prior?
We've called it sister brand, other company, other brand, two brands under one roof.
It was a titanium only mountain bike brand that kind of lived alongside Revel Bikes, which is a carbon only mountain bike brand.
Exactly.
And now you have so eloquently smushed them together.
It's the proper business term was smushing the brands together.
Yeah. So the Y Cycles name will sort of be sunsetted, and all of those titanium bikes will live on, but they will just say Revel on them, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Nothing else?
Well,
did you decide to shove one bike under the rug during the process, or no?
No, actually, all the bikes will live on.
Which was a hardtail, a gravel bike?
A couple of hardtails, yeah. So we
two
have
hardtails and a gravel bike.
We have a 29er, more standard hardtail, really versatile bike. Then we have a 29 plus hardtail called the Wayward, which is like a bike packing adventure overland type bike. Then we have a fat bike called the Big Iron, which is actually quite popular for us in the winter. We're based out in Colorado, so we
Did you bring one here to the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival, which ironically is covered in snow this year?
We have about 42 demo bikes here, and the one bike we did not bring to Sedona was our fat bike.
Massive oversight.
Rewriting it.
Oh, man. Oh, that's
we would have done pretty well if we had fat bikes here to demo in Sedona.
Yeah, that would be cool. Because the Sedona Bike Festival, which was supposed to kick off officially on Friday, right?
Rain or shine
and snow, but then it was canceled Friday because Sedona got what, 8 inches of snow on Thursday?
Yeah,
close to a foot. Yeah, we woke up
and snow. Yeah, you guys were already here.
We were ready to go do our load in and get our demo booth set up and start getting people on bikes, and we just pressed snooze and kept on sleeping, and there was nothing happening that day. I think our Airbnb ran out of power for about 12 hours, so we were sitting in the house using a phone for a Wi-Fi hotspot to try to get our website all updated and ready with this new brand smush that we did, and wearing puffy coats. It was an interesting day. It's better now. It's gonna be a fantastic weekend.
It'll turn around.
Yeah,
it'll turn around.
It's a little muddy, but I think it could
mud
be.
And snow, and hopefully not sticky mud. But
yeah,
perfect.
It'll be a good time regardless. Just our bike's going to be involved. TBD.
It's hard to say. It's a bike event, but we might not actually ride bikes very much.
Well, we're talking about bikes, so
Yeah, that's true. We will talk
are.
about bikes regardless.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of stuff has happened at Revel. So the smush, so Y Cycles being sunsetted, turning into Revel. You guys also opened Taiwan facility. That's some pretty cool, interesting news. I know the last podcast we asked you a number of questions about manufacturing in Asia, and I've personally learned a lot from you about that topic and your insight and takeaways. And just, I feel like you're a lot more open, honest, transparent, and candid about that, which is cool because what percentage of the bike industry is manufactured in Asia? 97?
90 at least.
Yeah. 98?
Yeah. Every bike that, we all ride and talk about it's all made in Asia. They do a phenomenal job making bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just cool because you're a lot more open about it than most people kind of just try and neglect or hide that for whatever various reason. But tell us about the Taiwan facility. What's going on there?
Yeah, we're super excited. We now, Revel Bikes has a branch office is the official term, I believe, for our own facility, our own business in Taiwan. So we officially, I guess, opened it back in December. I'm getting on a plane here in a few weeks to go back and work there a little bit more. But I absolutely love working in Taiwan. It's this island near China, but totally separate from China. And basically the island produces bikes and computer chips and, some other things too. But that's what the place is known for. So Taichung, Taiwan specifically is kind of like the Silicon Valley is for tech companies. Taichung is for bike companies. And we have this facility there now. I'm just thrilled. It's this wonderful, huge, gigantic warehouse that we can grow into. And you drive down the street and you just see the headquarters of all these major bike brands all within like 20 minutes. Every company just has their big office there, whether, a lot of people manufacture there, but a lot of it now, more of the manufacturing has moved to countries like China or Vietnam or Myanmar, Cambodia, even Bangladesh and India. Now there's manufacturing taking place. But the headquarters are usually still right there in Taiwan. So you walk down the street and it's like, it's just crazy. Like you're in just like bike mecca right there. So now we have our own place there and I'm quite excited about it.
Yeah. What takes place there? Is it the actual manufacturing, the assembly, just sort of the office work? Like what happens? What's going to happen in this facility?
Well, right now it's pretty small. So we have 32 people in Carbondale, Colorado, and then we have 4 staff in Taichung, Taiwan. Actually, starting April 1, we're adding our 5th person. So we're starting to build out the team over there. It'll be a little bit of everything. So right now it's frame assembly, warehousing, shipping, logistics. We can, do all the boring, supply chain stuff that I never thought I'd, be learning about when I decided to start a bike company. Is like, that's been our life for the last years, figuring out, shipping consolidation. And if you, bring in a product from Taiwan versus Vietnam and how the taxes work and the duties. And then if you combine it into a 20-foot container and we have 10 frames over here and then tires over here, then, what does that do to, help make things more efficient as we're shipping products all over the world. So I've gotten to learn a lot of things about supply chain and logistics that I never knew existed. But at the end of the day, if we can do all that stuff better, that helps us, have more resources to make more good bikes, to get more bikes in, all over the world, to help bring costs down eventually. And a huge thing, the part I'm really most excited about is the potential, really everything we're doing at our Taiwan facility with controlling our own assembly and sourcing will help make our bikes better and better. So we'll have all of our bikes, all of our frames will be fully assembled by Revel employees at our facility in Taiwan. And then those frames will ship to Colorado where they get fully assembled into complete bikes, or they'll ship to our distributors in different countries all over the world. A lot of other brands will do a similar concept to us. Some do the exact same thing as us, but a lot of them work with third-party assemblers in Taiwan or China, which is also a great way to do things. But in my mind, we're a pretty new company. We're celebrating our 4th birthday tomorrow here in Sedona.
Nice.
So you guys are all
the
invited.
Sedona Bike Festival was the launch of Revel, right?
We launched Revel 4 years ago tomorrow at this event, which is, so it's kind of, this is like a special event for us. So, and then here we're at year 4 and we combined, our Y-Cycles line into Revel. So it's kind of a symbolic thing, but we're a relatively new company in the big scheme of things. And my goal was to set up all of our logistics and facilities and assembly and sourcing and manufacturing processes to be able to scale into a, really incredible, high end company that, to make the best bikes we possibly can. So this facility is really a huge step in the right direction for better quality, better logistics, better costs, so that hopefully eventually we can even bring prices down in the future. So it kind of opens up a whole lot of doors, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that last thing you just said, a lot of people's ears will perk up on, because a lot of the current comment trolls on the interwebs in the mountain bike world are just complaining constantly about pricing. Obviously, a ton of brands, maybe every single brand, raised prices during the pandemic when there was a huge amount of demand and a lack of supply, and a bunch of other issues with everyone's supply chain. So just out of curiosity, what is kind of your take on that? I mean, because to me, it seems like that might have got a little bit out of hand, but it was also economically reasonable behind the scenes, which a lot of people don't have insight into because these are all private companies. On the other side of it too, how much better can bikes really get? They're pretty amazing. And so I think one of the next innovations is making them more sustainably, but also maybe also trying to find ways to get them at better price points for what you get. What's your take on this?
Could not agree more. I think it's pretty ridiculous how expensive bikes are, and I realize I'm saying that as the owner of a bike company that sells very expensive bikes. But we've actually gotten feedback when we first launched back in 2019. Everyone kind of said, "Why are your frames so cheap?" And I said, "Well, they're priced where they should be." But it was like, well, if your bikes aren't priced the same as some of our competitors, it's almost like a problem. So that was kind of a weird thing, but. No, I often say, business gets in the way of bikes a whole lot, and we're all in the business of bikes. And so it's kind of a funny thing to balance those two things. Most of us are in this line of work because we love bikes and we're super passionate about bikes. We decided to start, get into this as a career. And then, at the same time, it's a business. So, I feel pretty lucky at the end of the day that my job gets to be my fun. But doing things like raising prices during COVID was not one of the more enjoyable parts of my job. Some companies went really aggressive with price increases. We did 2 different price increases during COVID, and it was crazy. It was some of the more heated conversations in our conference room was how to increase prices, and we had to. Looking back on it, I think we probably should have been a little bit more aggressive with price increases. Simple things, shipping, and this is the same whether it's the bike industry or all kinds of other industries. But the rough metrics were basically for the last 10 or 20 years or something in the bike world. It cost about $4,000 to ship a 20-foot container from Taiwan or China to the United States. And that would fluctuate by a couple $100s. Even before COVID, we'd always look at that stuff and, hey, if we could get a container for $4,000 instead of $4,300, let's make 10 phone calls and try to figure out how to do that, because that's good business. And then COVID happened and containers went to $5,000 and $7,000. I remember when they hit $8,000 and we were all thinking, oh my, containers just doubled in cost. This is wild. Then it hit $12,000 and we all thought there's no way shipping could get more expensive. They went up to $24,000 to bring a container in. A container will fit about 220 frames depending on how you package it. So you do the math, and that's a few $100s per frame. Add up all the other parts that go in there, and just shipping alone was a massive price increase in a very short period of time, let alone all the other raw material price increases that were going on. So, all these companies that were raising prices during COVID, from what I saw from everything over, from the entire supply chain, it was very, very justified. Now, we raised prices and we said, hey, anybody who has an order who has already placed an order, even if they ordered a bike for 6 months away or 9 months away, we said, great, we're still going to honor that original pricing that you got. So we actually kind of just ate it. We ate all that extra shipping costs for, a very long period of time, which, we're a younger, smaller company and we want to do the right things. I think that's better for the long run. But a lot of other companies didn't do that. They just said, tomorrow you got to pay 15% more for everything. And I don't think that's the right way to do stuff either. But, now things are much more mellow with the global supply chain. Shipping costs have, for the most part, come back down to normal. They're not quite there yet, but they're much closer. So I think now companies can start instead of putting all these resources towards supply chain and shipping, companies can now focus more on R&D and development and how to, make the actual products less expensive or better, or a combination of the two. And hopefully that means in the next few years, bikes can hopefully get cheaper.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Quick note, middle of the podcast, Liam, Jared, and I are going on one epic trip to the Dolomite Mountains in Italy this September. There is only 3 spots available on this trip. It's a guided trip that's going to be put on by All Mountain Rides. This was a company that put together a mountain bike tour that I went on back in 2019 in New Zealand, and it was the most fun mountain bike trip I've ever been on in my life. This guy, Phil, who runs these trips, is absolutely world-class. If you want to go, the link is in the show notes. There's 3 spots available. It's going to be amazing. September, Italy, ride mountain bikes with myself, Jared, and Liam. Jared, are you excited?
Yes, probably more excited about a trip than I've been in a long time.
Liam?
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, I am over the moon excited. I can't wait to ride bikes with all my friends and meet new friends on this trip.
Boom. And now, back to the show.
All right. More news. We've got a couple cool things to talk about with you remaining, Adam. Well, one really important thing, which we're going to drop this podcast on March 14th, which is the day you were going to announce the Rodeo downhill bike by Revel.
Yeah.
But you're calling it a concept bike. A concept bike. Oh, wow. Are you Honda or what are you?
Yeah, we're a car company.
Is this the auto show?
Revel
trying
Bikes
something
and
new.
Revel Bikes and Cars.
Yeah.
Revel
No,
Bikes
that's
and
a
cars.
joke. That's not happening.
We're not a car company, no. We're going to stick with bikes.
It's funny because it's a concept bike, but it's not electric.
There's no motor in
There's
this
no
bike.
motor. So it's called the Rodeo. It's a full-blown downhill bike, and it's got some crazy things going on. Give us the skinny.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about this one. It is a very different product launch than we've ever done before because the bike is not for sale. So we have
Good luck in the comments.
yeah, probably yeah, great for business too. Our finance team loves this one.
Yeah, exactly. Can't sell anything.
We made a bike that we're not going to sell. Yeah, we did make a bike that we're not going to sell. We're calling it a concept bike, similar to a lot of car companies come out with cool new things they're trying and experimenting and just kind of show off because why not? It's fun.
It's fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's interesting.
It's
futuristic.
Very futuristic and pretty cool to talk about. So I'm excited to talk about it here on this podcast. We made a downhill bike that is 3D printed thermoplastic made in America, and it uses the CBF suspension platform. So it kind of checks a whole lot of boxes of pretty cool stuff in my mind, from both a product standpoint and but really how it's made, and really what that means for the future of how bikes could be made as this technology advances.
3D printed.
Thermoplastic.
Downhill bike.
Wow, you guys are good.
Come on, run that in the marketing. Come on.
Can you
That
just
was
do
cool.
all the marketing for this? I'm gonna film that. I'm just gonna go back to making bikes. You guys can talk about it.
So this bike's 3D printed thermoplastic. So your guys' wheels are also made out of a similar material, but it's not 3D printed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So thermoplastic is a type of composite. So traditional, well, basically our bikes, all carbon bikes that you see out there, we call them carbon bikes, but it's a thermoset carbon, and that means it's carbon fibers with epoxy resin, and the epoxy is the curing agent, the bonding agent to glue all those fibers together and make a really strong material. Thermoplastic is also a composite carbon, but it does not use epoxy for the curing agent. It uses a plastic, a nylon, a PA6 or a PA12 or a PEEK or a PEC or all sorts of other really fancy versions of that. And it's kind of the new wave in composites. Boeing, Airbus, all these big companies are using thermoplastics because of for all sorts of reasons. It's a stronger material, it has better impact resistance, but really the biggest benefit, I think, is the manufacturing processes and the efficiencies you can gain. Traditional thermoset carbon requires a whole lot of human labor. Most of that is done in Asia. Our bikes are made in Asia, as are just about every other bikes out there. Thermoplastic allows for a whole lot more kind of freedom with how things are made. So our fusion fiber wheels are made in Utah with the very robotic manufacturing process. Things are cut out with robots. The material is laid up robotically, so there's no human error in there. You can make a much more consistent product. It goes into a mold. It's cured in about 20 seconds rather than 45 minutes. So there's a whole lot less energy that goes into making those products. So it's a more environmentally friendly manufacturing process. It's much cleaner. Epoxy is full of all sorts of bad chemicals that people can breathe in and, could leak into the environment. And epoxy is kind of the bad part of traditional carbon. So thermoplastics have a whole lot of really cool benefits. And they can be recycled a whole lot easier. So our wheels are fully recyclable. We have a full process for how that material gets recycled, really downcycled, and it can be turned into all sorts of other products. So we were the first company to launch these fusion fiber thermoplastic wheels back in 2020. We actually also launched those right around this time of year and showed them off at the Sedona Bike Fest for the first time. So this is a special event for us.
We have a YouTube video all about those wheels. Just a note.
It's a good one.
Jared just laughing at me.
That saves me going into all the...
Yeah. If you really want to know more about those, myself, Jared, Liam, we spent a lot of time riding those wheels and enjoying those wheels and made a whole YouTube video about them because it was interesting. Just the manufacturing process was cool. And those wheels got us excited because they're just awesome in so many different ways, and it kind of opens up this whole new world for how to make cool stuff, whether it's bikes or airplanes or anything. So we started looking at other thermoplastic options, and a few years ago, I discovered a factory called Revel based out in California, and they had developed technology to 3D print thermoplastic. And so I reached out to them, and we started a relationship, and I said, I want to make a bike with you guys. I think this seems really cool. We have some pretty neat ideas for bike design. We use the CBF suspension system. I wanted to make a downhill bike. I can go into kind of the backstory a little bit more. And they were amazing. They said, yeah, let's do it. This hasn't been done before. And let's try it out. So we got a really cool partnership with this factory that has all sorts of crazy technology. And we worked together to create the world's first 3D printed full suspension bike. And it was actually a downhill bike with CBF suspension. So I thought it was pretty cool. So what is the reason behind concept bike? The idea, because everyone's just going to be, why isn't it available? Why can't I buy it? So the reason is it's not quite ready to ride just yet. It's like a thing. You have photos of it, videos of it, but it's not quite perfect.
Correct.
Okay.
It's not ready to sell. The technology is not there yet. I think it will be in the next, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 years or 3 or 4 years. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It has a ton of promise. If we were making a road bike, and actually this factory did make some more road oriented products, it's there. It's ready to go. Where we're at right now is it would be ready to sell in the next few months if price was not a factor. It's way too expensive today to sell this bike. But it has the promise to be very reasonably priced, on par with current bikes, and in the future getting even lower cost than current bikes with scale, because the material and the machine time makes sense. Right now, it's so new. There's so much engineering time that needs to go into programming the machine, showing how that 3D print head actually puts the fibers down, where those carbon fibers go. And so you got a team of really, really smart engineers working on this stuff. And that's the part that's expensive right now. So we figured, you know what? This is going to be a good bit longer until it's ready to bring to the market and actually sell it. Let's show it off as a concept bike. Let's show off what we've been working on. It's kind of cool. It's fun to talk about. And I get excited about what it means for the future of how bikes are made.
Yeah. Let's just run a hypothetical here. I'm not Jeff Cayley. I'm Jeff Bezos. And I want to buy it because I got plenty of money.
It'll look good on your yacht.
Yeah, it's going to look good on one of my yachts.
On a sea sucker on his Rivian. Yeah. That's, yeah.
What's this going to cost me? Ooh, 20 grand?
More than a Rivian.
$80,000.
So the mountain biker logic of the bike is still more than the car pans out.
Totally.
I think I purposely haven't done the math to figure out what it would cost
it
because I
doesn't
know
make
it's
sense.
just so expensive. But it's way too expensive.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a smart move for you to say, hey, this is a concept bike, this technology, let me tell you all about it. It's really interesting. As opposed to saying, like, this is our new bike. It's $60,000.
Put your
That
pre-order
probably
in
wouldn't
now
have
and
worked.
you'll get it in 2 years.
$60,000 and you'll get it in 2 to 6 years.
Yeah, $1,000 deposit. You know, kind of like
that's a good plan.
some of those
We'll
people
really
do.
copy everything that car companies do.
Yeah.
So that's just the concept car. We'll do the deposit thing.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's not just your average 3D printer that anybody can buy that does this.
It is highly proprietary, and that's where I felt very lucky to partner up with Revel because it's their technology. They invented how this 3D print head lays down thermoplastic carbon fibers into a structurally strong shape, and that's a huge step in the right direction for making all types of different products for all types of different industries. But it is not at the point where someone could buy a 3D printer on Alibaba.
Amazon.
Yeah, no.
Make it in their basement.
Different situation, it appears.
Totally.
But I mean, it's cool because you guys were the first company launched these wheels with the fusion fiber, this thermoplastic type of wheel. And now you're kind of the first bike brand to release this, at least to the public, right? Even though it's not for sale, you guys are the first one to show that you're working on it and you guys can make a bike and it is rideable. It's just not feasible to buy currently.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I started this business because I love making bikes and figuring out how to make them. And, one of the things I have the most fun with is just, okay, we have a concept, we have an idea, now let's go make it. And I've gotten to travel all over the world to China and Taiwan and Vietnam and work in these factories to make bikes. And so it's always fun to figure out new ways to make things. And in my mind, I don't want to just be a bike company that comes out with a product just because there's some market share to be had or because we think we can just, sell X number of them. We want to make a product because we care about it and we think we can do some things maybe a little bit better than some other brands. And a lot of that comes down to frame features like, geometry or, suspension kinematics. But a huge part of it for me comes down to how that product is actually made. And that's where the fusion fiber wheels or this 3D printed process are really exciting to me. So this is a total passion project for our company. It was pretty fun to go, hop on an airplane and fly to, Milpitas and Silicon Valley to go make a bicycle. That's not normal. And we got to do it. So we learned a ton. And I think that's what's just as exciting about this project. We made it knowing there was a lot of risks. We didn't say, okay, we have a 18-month development time and we're going to start selling this on, March 14 and this is going to be the, dollars and every, we just said, hey, we're going to try this. And if it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't work out, we will have learned a whole lot in the process. And we just decided let's show off what we were doing because bikes are fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, I admire you guys just being honest and transparent and showing how this thing is made, what's going on, who's doing what, and I don't know, making it a concept bike because I can't recall anyone ever saying, this is a concept. We might come out with this one day.
Yeah.
Nobody does that in the bike world.
Well, our team spent a lot of time on it. Our engineering team put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into this thing and designed this beautiful, phenomenal bike. And so I think it's pretty cool to kind of show it off to say like, hey, this is awesome. Yeah. And it's actually, well, and we haven't talked much about how it's a downhill bike, which to me is kind of half the fun that it probably would have been easier for us to, make a bike, say, all mountain or enduro bike, that maybe had lower testing standards than a bike made to go do Red Bull Rampage and do backflips and all sorts of crazy stuff. But the idea was, hey, one, we wanted a downhill bike. Two, let's make the most difficult bike we can because to prove this type of manufacturing, this concept, let's make a bike that people are going to do crazy stuff on. And if we can do that, then we know we can apply the technology to other products. So maybe it was more expensive and slower and whatever in the beginning, but to me, that's a good long-term plan for really learning about a new material, learning about a new manufacturing process. But the downhill bike concept, or just the idea for making a downhill bike, started back in, it was 2019. We went to an outer bike in Bentonville, Arkansas, and Chris Canfield came with us because Chris Canfield invented CBF, Canfield Balance Formula, the suspension patent that we use on our bikes, and
he is a legitimate downhill racer, and that was his original passion. So that's why I was the most excited to be like, oh, it's a downhill bike with CBF. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking of videos, we have a full video on the CBF suspension platform
with Chris Canfield.
Yeah, Chris Canfield's in it, and he explains a lot of it in that video. And he's kind of a serious downhill guy first and enduro guy second, I would say. I don't know, maybe that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Oh yeah. He has a World Cup jersey that he
he's a legitimate downhill.
He's really fast
racer.
going down.
He just won Masters World Champs.
Yeah,
like a year or two ago.
Yeah, so to see a CBF downhill bike, I was like, ooh, and then it's like, oh, this crazy 3D printed thing made in California. I was like, wow.
Well, and we're going to go ride with Chris Canfield tomorrow. So it'll be fun to try to chase him down.
God.
It's on, Jeff. Before we even launched the Revel brand, Chris Canfield was like, all right, when are you making a downhill bike? When are you making a downhill bike?
I'm sure.
And I had, we launched with two models, and a kind of all mountain bike and an enduro bike. But Chris couldn't wait for us to make a downhill bike.
Yeah.
So we were at this outer bike event to show off the bikes back, early on, like 6 months after we launched the company, and Chris was there to, help, talk to, show off the bikes and talk about CBF. And it rained like, the most rain I've ever seen ever. So they shut down outer bike, which is eerily similar to here today at Sedona Bike Fest, where it snowed a foot. And so we were sitting in this coffee shop in Bentonville with nothing to do. And Chris said, all right, let's talk about this downhill bike. And we sat there, and he, drew out the suspension kinematics in this coffee shop and said, here you go. Like, let's, make a downhill
That's the most epic thing to do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, when was the last time you just drew out suspension kinematics in a coffee shop, Jared?
Well, I wouldn't tell you because all of my kinematic drawings are secret.
You have to sign a non-disclosure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
that's rad.
Looking at the bike, when this podcast goes live, we will have a article as well on our website with photos of this bike, but it looks pretty rad. It looks good.
Looks good.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris did a great job. And we did a couple neat things. There's mounts for two small water bottles, to be fair. A Fidlock, or the smaller bottle size.
Which is also good for suspension testing data. Which that's
absolutely
what a lot of downhill bikes have those mounts for.
Yep. Yeah, you can mount all sorts of stuff. You can carry your, spare tube or tools or whatever, and there's just a lot of room there. The suspension kinematics are pretty neat. Chris was quite excited about this layout. CBF really shines on long travel bikes. It does so good at just tracking the ground, and the kind of the underrated part of CBF in my mind is the braking characteristics. When you go grab your back brake, a lot of suspension systems will sort of push you over the bars or pull you down or lock up the rear wheel so you don't get as much traction as you're going over bumpy terrain. And Chris has done an incredible job with the CBF system of really disengaging the braking forces from the suspension. So as you get into longer travel on a downhill bike, you notice that even more.
I want to buy it now.
Well, it'll look great on your yacht next to Jeff Bezos.
It would look really good there.
It looks so good.
It looks so good.
I'm waiting for this company yacht. That's what I'm talking about.
Right?
Any day now.
I think we're going to need to sell some other things.
We have a company raft at Revel.
That's pretty close to a yacht.
It's a little smaller. It's inflatable.
I've personally had a really good time on that company yacht.
Same here.
Yeah, we've all had some great times on that yacht.
Why don't you name that raft a yacht?
That's a good idea.
Well, was it? I think it was the
Revel
first time
yacht.
we visited Revel. We actually went on your guys' raft in the river there.
You mean yacht?
Yeah.
You mean yacht?
The yacht.
The yacht.
company yacht. Yeah. It was,
company yacht.
I think it was about 100 degrees outside, so we didn't really want to go biking. So
We did a short mountain bike ride, and then we just went on a raft.
And then we went to the
Perfect.
rodeo.
And then we went to the rodeo.
And then we went to the rodeo.
And then we went
to the rodeo.
And then we went to the local bar till it shut down. It was a great time.
That was a good time.
Great day.
It was a
That was a
great
good trip. That was a good Colorado trip.
Yeah,
That
it
was my favorite business trip.
We should do that again this summer.
Yeah, well, what was the situation there? We flew into Grand Junction. The plan was to go to Revel, to hang out with Adam, talk to the guys,
quote unquote work.
quote unquote work.
We were
We
supposed
were gonna
to
film some
actually
stuff
work,
and
not
like
quote
and
unquote
do some
work.
things.
We were supposed to actually work.
And then we just did a quick mountain bike ride, did a raft trip, and then went to a rodeo, and then drank too much, stayed up too late.
And we were supposed to. Well, yeah, we were supposed to film, but we had to go to Crested Butte like the next day.
Yeah, and then we went
And
to
then
a chasing epic
because
trip
we
in
were
Crested
out so
Butte the
late,
next day.
we overslept. Mainly Jeff overslept.
I'm not waking up early.
Or we were supposed to like film the next day, which was poor.
That
planning.
wasn't going to be good for anyone.
Yeah,
No,
who's
no,
So,
no,
planned that?
so then we ended up having to book it to Crested Butte. We did our chasing epic trip in Crested Butte. And then we had to add another day onto that trip, I think, to come back to Revel to actually do the work. We weren't supposed to the
we were
first
supposed to
time.
do that several days prior.
Yeah.
Business trips in the bike industry. It's
Rough. Super rough.
Yeah. Well, and our downhill bike is named the Rodeo in large
Yeah.
part because of the rodeo that we all went to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been to a rodeo until that.
It was the first rodeo.
That was our
first
that
rodeo.
literally
First rodeo.
was our first
It was
rodeo.
literally our first rodeo.
We didn't
what a
make that
joke
joke
that is.
once the entire
No,
time.
never.
Yeah.
Well, this bike looks rad. What do you think in terms of, so you're calling it a concept bike? It could come out in several years from now, but what do you think in terms of all bike brands making components and especially the frame out of more sustainable, more cost-effective, more efficient processes? Is that kind of like the overall end goal here? Because that's personally what I would like to see.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's so exciting about this, and the fact that we get to work towards that goal and at the same time make a downhill bike. To me, that's pretty fun. I mean, that's pretty cool. More sustainable, more cost effective. Made, whether it's made in America or made in Asia. In my mind, whatever makes the best product, where the people are proud to make those products, they're treated well. It's more environmentally friendly. If we can do all those things a little bit better, to me, that's a huge win at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what's really cool too about this 3D printing process, so thermoplastic alone is just incredible. I mean, all sorts of, yes, we're going to see more bikes and more components made out of this material. Has an excellent ride characteristics, excellent impact resistance, and the environmental and cost benefits are there and will certainly improve over time as the technology improves. But what's neat about this 3D printing part of it to me is what it means for the future. So theoretically, this bike is made with no molds. So normal thermoset carbon frame requires a gigantic, expensive, heavy set of steel, usually steel molds. And so you design your geometry, you make your molds, and that's what the bike is. With 3D printing, you don't need a mold. There's no costs to set things up. So theoretically, in the not too distant future, we could make this downhill bike, and let's just say either a sponsored athlete or a customer or one of us said, you know what, I like the geometry you came up with, but instead of a 475 millimeter reach, I want a 478 millimeter reach on my downhill bike. Our engineers could go in, make some adjustments to the model, press print, and it would go get printed. And so you could make a custom geometry or custom kinematic carbon fiber bike. And to me, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, that's like the way current carbon bikes are made with the mold is not at all possible. You'd have to open up a whole new mold, which is thousands and thousands of
Then
dollars.
instead of costing $80,000, it would be $250,000.
yeah, a little more.
$250,000 to get you a custom geo bike.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos might buy one.
Daddy Bezos, dude.
Come on, Bezos,
Yeah.
let's go.
He'll buy that.
Maybe that's why he doesn't mountain bike. It's too cheap for him.
We just cracked the code.
Yeah. We need to make
Let's
bikes
make
that are
bikes
expensive enough
more
for
expensive.
big. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
New mission.
Exactly.
Oh man, I can't stop thinking about Daddy Bezos and what he's thinking about right now.
Hopefully he's
Probably not bikes, but hopefully maybe bikes.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I could be wrong. Maybe he does ride bikes. I don't know. Doesn't look like it though.
He's pretty yoked.
Yeah.
That's
kind of a
probably
meathead.
HGH and whatever else the other anti-aging drugs all those billionaires are into these days.
Yeah.
Seems nice.
Fountain of youth.
Yeah. So I have a question, Adam.
Yes, Liam.
Right now, the Revel rims, are made in the USA and in Utah. With this thermoplastic, is this thermoplastic technology at all being found or made in Asia currently?
Yep.
It is.
Yeah, and we've actually experimented with a few places over there too. So, yeah, I love the global economy. I think it's really cool to go to different places, different countries, different cultures, and work with different people. Everybody has different strengths, and I think that's pretty fun to explore. In my mind, we make products in few in Colorado, but Utah, California, Taiwan, China, Vietnam, and in my mind, that's just super fun. Like that's a super fun part of my job. We work with just fantastic people that really care about what they're doing. I'm really proud of the factories that we do work with in all these places. Most of the thermoplastic exploration and research and development is taking place right here in America. There's quite a few, really, really innovative things going on with the 3D printing or with the robotic manufacturing. There's a lot of stuff going on in Europe as well. But there are a few factories as well in Taiwan and in China that are looking into this. It's a logical next step in composites evolution for all industries. And there's loads of money being poured into this by, companies slightly bigger than the bike industry, and our companies, Boeing and Airbus and are doing a lot with thermoplastic. So because of that, there's tons of innovation going on. And to me, it's pretty cool that we can kind of, slot into some of these factories that are making parts for, an Airbus jet. And here we are making, some bike parts over in the corner. It's kind of neat.
Wow.
Super neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Can't wait. The future is bright.
Hopefully we'll get you a downhill bike soon, Jeff.
That would be nice.
I'll try my best.
I just recently have been riding a longer travel bike than I've ridden in a long time. I'm kind of addicted to the Revel Ranger. Like that's just what I ride all the time. And then I'm now riding a little bit longer travel bike. And I'm like, hey, these are pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
I forgot about this.
I honestly thought that. I was like, I forgot about this. I was like, this is pretty sick.
Hold on. It kind of does a lot.
You can do a lot.
Well, maybe, need to bring a longer travel bike to Whistler this year.
I will. I'll bring 2 bikes.
2 bikes.
The Ranger and a downhill bike. The Ranger and the Rodeo.
Ranger and the Rodeo.
I'm going to pay $250,000 for the Rodeo.
You're going to ride a Ranger and Squamish. You're going to pay $250,000.
It'll be a really good investment.
I'm going to go to the Wells Fargo and ask for a $250,000 loan to buy a bicycle.
It'll make that day at Whistler really fun.
Yeah.
So worth it.
So worth it.
I'll just befriend Jeff Bezos and figure it out from there.
That's smarter. We could all do that.
Yeah.
Then we could make this bike maybe a little faster.
Oh, it's amazing. All right. Well, Adam, if people want to bug you with a couple other Revel questions, are you willing to tell them your personal Instagram handle so they can be like, hey, man, how'd you get your colors?
Yeah.
Tell me about CBF. And then you can just send them a link to a CBF video that we made.
That you guys made. You guys, I think, have explained CBF better than we have explained CBF. So we'll absolutely.
Honestly, that's what I'm glad to hear you say that because we try to do that. We try to find a way to. Actually, Liam coined this. It was what was it? It was sort of advanced rider approved, but digestible by the novice rider. Something of you said it actually way better than that, but it was.
I'm impressed. I said that.
you said something really good one day, and I actually put it. I put it in our YouTube channel description because actually that makes a lot of sense. Because
demystifying the world of mountain biking, is that it?
It was further down the description because I wanted. I thought that was really good. You said that one time, and I was like, I'm going to put that in YouTube description because we try to make our YouTube videos sort of the beginning of them, the first half of them be a lot more sort of high level and digestible by the novice rider and maybe someone who's not super nerdy into the bike industry and bikes in general. And then the latter half of them be a little bit more nerdy and hopefully give you the viewpoint of a true long-term mountain biker industry person. I don't know. So I try to structure our content to sort of progressively go that direction. Makes sense in the beginning to where it makes sense for the novice rider, and then progressively slide into actually makes a lot of sense for that like super bike industry nerd, whatever.
Well, that's a huge reason I like working with you guys, because we get so, laser focused looking at our computers, whether it's engineering or suspension kinematics or supply chain or
a lot of companies do. They're just like so into the CAD models and SolidWorks,
and so it's harder for us to how do we talk about that? Well, we're just looking at is the anti-rise 102% or 90%? Like who cares? Like we just want to make a good bike, but
few people care, but 97 other people don't. So you got to talk to everyone.
So you can help us. You can help explain that to everyone.
But those 97 other people do want a bike that rides well.
Yeah. Everyone cares about something. They just need to hear it in a certain way that makes sense to them. Yeah.
Right.
And then to go on your point, along with the way we structure our content, the third tier of that is we always have an accompanying article on our website that also goes even deeper into the nerd specs and all that stuff that you can also read and look at photos as well. So,
and I love looking at the nerd specs. That's fantastic.
I do too.
That's because you guys are those guys.
We're the nerds.
You guys are those guys.
That's us.
Michael over here monitoring the GoPro. He just wants to watch the first half of the YouTube video and get the gist, right?
Get a good bike.
Yeah.
He just wants the good bike.
He just wants a good bike.
Everybody wants a good bike.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a bad bike.
Yeah.
That's
dumb. If you want to ask me questions on my personal Instagram, I believe it's adam.miller907.
What's 907? Your old motocross race number, or what is that?
Oh, I wasn't that cool. No, it's I'm from Alaska originally. It's the Alaska area code. So,
nice.
One of those states that has one area code for the whole state. So
that's wild, actually, to think about.
That is impressive.
It's not a it's a big state. Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well,
hit
sweet.
me up. Ask away. Happy to chat.
Cool. Yeah, I always tell people that, if people want to hit me on in personal Instagram, myself, Jared, Liam, we all kind of divulge our personal Instagrams and say, like, not that many people are going to abuse it, at least at this size. We've been all right so far, right?
Yeah.
Not too bad. Manageable. I usually do voice dictation replies while I'm on the toilet. That's how I reply to all my Instagram messages.
That's efficient. That's a good idea.
100%, dude. I'm all about efficiency. You want to talk about efficiency? I'll talk to you about efficiency.
You're the expert.
On most things.
Yeah. On getting ready in the morning? Nope. I would rather just lounge around, get ready slow, have 2 cups of coffee, and ride at 11:30.
How about brushing your teeth?
I've thought about all that. Yeah. Well, okay, just real quick before we end this podcast, I have thought about, so what I do when I brush my teeth, I do a hip flexor stretch, because there's basically only one other thing you can multitask while brushing your teeth properly, and it's stretching of some kind. For me, it's hip flexors. They get tight when you sit. Left flexor when I brush my top teeth, and the right hip flexor when I brush my bottom teeth. And I do the full round, and I stretch the hip flexors, and so I got it perfect. And then you get at least 2 minutes in the morning of hip flexor stretch, and 2 minutes in the evening of hip flexor stretch.
Do you think that if you brushed your teeth twice as fast, you could save half the time?
So, now we're getting even deeper into this. I did do that.
Yeah.
I tried to brush my teeth. I tried to brush my teeth ultra fast, and I actually got gum recession. I was damaging my gums because I was brushing my teeth so fast.
Well, you can't.
This
you
isn't
can't be
I know it's just
too aggressive with your gums.
I was.
You should.
And my dentist was like, "You got to have that gum replaced now. You've just botched the one in the back," and I had to get material or flesh removed from the top of my mouth and grafted into my gum. Yeah,
that bad.
So there's such a thing as too efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Too efficient / too aggressive. So I'm much more gentle with my toothbrushing now. I go the full 2 minutes at proper pace, and I stretch my hip flexors at the same time.
Realistically,
and listen to a podcast.
Saving 2 minutes is, marginal.
You should traveling with Jeff. You do learn some stuff, and I have personally implemented a few things from traveling with Jeff into my life, and one of them is a hip flexor stretch while brushing teeth.
Yeah, at least stretch something while you're brushing
If
your
you
teeth.
travel, you're sitting either in a plane or a car, and then you need to stretch your hip flexors after that. What better time to do than brushing your teeth?
It's a good lesson learned.
Even mid plane ride, long plane rides, just get up in the aisle, stretch the hip flexors.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
This is so in a few weeks we'll be doing that.
Oh yeah, we're going to go on a good trip in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. Liam's going to Taiwan on behalf of Trail One and tagging along with the Revel crew.
Can't wait.
So-
Yeah, I need help.
I've been telling Liam to train and drink more sake and have other things and
Do they drink
You
sake
haven't done
there?
any of it.
I'm currently drinking, and I don't often do that. So
Oh, that's something.
So we'll get him another one after this, and we'll keep training you.
We'll keep practicing. We'll get ready for the trip. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna go to a bunch of factories. We're gonna see stuff and how stuff's made. We're gonna go to the Taipei show. It's gonna be. I can't wait.
yeah,
That's right.
I'm really stoked.
That's cool.
So
We're gonna make bikes. See how bikes are made.
yeah,
What's more
Good
fun?
luck. Jared and I will be drinking pina coladas in Maui.
Do you like pina colada?
If you have listened this far, thank you very much. We genuinely appreciate it. If you have any questions you want us to answer on the podcast, please email them to podcast@worldwidecyclery.com. And Jared himself
I
will answer. Read those.
read them. Yeah.
And he'll put them in the question doc if they're worthy.
send us your
If you said
worthy
something really bad, we're not going to
questions.
answer it.
Or if you just need help with a certain component selection or bike choice, then maybe I'll just reply and I'll give you my 2 cents.
Yeah, that too. And we're all available on Instagram and happy to continue answering listener questions as we do on the normal podcasts. Although this one, we had Adam. So thank you, Adam, for taking time out of your day to come to our Sedona converted garage Airbnb with bunk beds in the background, which you can see on YouTube if you're watching right now.
Our humble abode.
And least but not last, as Jared has coined, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps our podcast out, and we appreciate that. And if you screenshot the review and email it to podcast@worldwidecyclery.com, we'll give you
A $15 gift card to Worldwide Cyclery, redeemable on any product of your choice.
thank you very much, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Cheerio.
Love
Thank
you.